Hello, welcome back to the Board Games 4K YouTube channel, and this is a channel where we do reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, all that sort of thing in glorious 4K resolution, and we generally talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. And in this video we're going to be talking about a game that's about 10 years old now. So this, we talk about the second edition, but the first edition in the second edition box. We're going to be talking about the Euro game. Card drafting Euro game, St. Petersburg, designed by some German geezer and the bloke who done Dimaco, which we reviewed earlier, Carl Heischmiel. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules, because there are not many rules in this game, and we'll be telling you what we do like, what we don't like, and then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not St. Petersburg is still worth playing in 2019 and beyond. So if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to the channel, leave a comment in the box down below, and we'll see you after this.
Board Games 4K.
So, St. Petersburg, how'd you play this game? This is basically like a card drafting, engine building, set collecting sort of game. It's a bit of a hybrid of all sorts of things, and in this game there's going to be 4 different phases. You've got the worker phase, you've got the buildings phase, you've got the nobles phase, and then you've got the exchange phase, and each phase corresponds to a separate deck of cards. Like obviously you've got the worker cards, you've got the building cards, you've got the noble cards, and then you've got the exchange cards. And what you'll be doing in the first round is a little bit different. You'll reveal twice the number of cards per player off the worker deck. You'll put them in the top row of the board, and then everybody has to buy at least 2 cards, right? And this is where we get into the actions of the game. So there's a very slim amount of actions you can take. You can buy a card for the cost depicted on the card. You can take the card into your hand for free, and that means that you can keep it in your hand, maybe stop other people from getting it, and then pay the cost later when you take the play the card action. And that means that you take a card that you've taken from your hand for free, and then you put it in front of you, and then you will pay the cost there. And then the final thing you can do is you can pass, and once everybody's passed in succession, right, I mean, even if you pass you can come back in the next round, but once everybody's passed, then the round is over, and then you score. And then the way this works is the scoring is that workers will only give you money, buildings generally only give you victory points, nobles give you a bit of both, and exchange cards work a little bit differently. So if you're going to be playing an exchange card, taking one off the board and playing it into your tableau, you'll have to take the one that it displaces and put it back on the board, right? So they generally sort of like that. The exchange cards are more like power-ups. Yeah, they give you more powerful versions of cards that you already own. And there's different ways of reducing the cost of the cards that you buy. So at the end of the round, you'll move all the cards that are in the top row, you move them down into the bottom row, and that makes any card in the bottom row 1 ruble cheaper, right? And also if you double up cards, so say if you've got 2 lumberjack cards, yeah, then you get a 2 ruble discount on the 3rd lumberjack card. So the more cards you've got of the same type, the cheaper they become. And there's other types of cards like the carpenter that will give you discounts on certain colours of cards that you've got. And then you've got say like the fake building card, yeah, that will pay for itself. It will become cheaper if you turn it face down, right? So there's all these different cards that do different things. It's a very simple game. The way the game ends is that once one of the decks of cards becomes depleted, then you finish the whole round, you get to the exchange deck, you score the exchange deck, and then the game is over. You tot up how many nobles, how many points you got with nobles. So nobles, the way that the noble scoring works is very simple. You get points for sets of different nobles that you got, so duplicates don't count for anything. So you look on the chart on the bottom of the board, count up how many different nobles you've got, that gives you a certain amount of victory points. Every 10 rubles gives you another victory point, and whoever's got the most points is the winner of St. Petersburg. So what do we like about St. Petersburg? So the first thing that we really like about this game is the way that the decks are used in a strict sequential order, right? And that allows you to kind of plan ahead, not not in the sense that you know what's coming out of the deck, right, because that's completely random, but you know that the workers are going to come out first, and then you know the buildings are going to follow that. So it allows you to sort of plan that you're going to get your money, then you're going to maybe trade your cash in for victory points, then you might be able to get some nobles, and then you might be able to swap out the cards that you no longer need with the exchange deck, right? So it gives you sort of there's a nice mixture between forward planning and trying to negate the randomness of this game. So the second thing that we really like about this one is there's some really good choices in this. Simple, honest choices that you need to make. Do you invest in worker cards to give you more cash to buy buildings that give you victory points or nobles, or do you save up your cash throughout the game, just sort of building up your bank reserves incrementally so you can go and splurge your money on the really lucrative nobles, or do you try and wait for the exchange cards to come out that really help you boost the efficiency of your engine? There's all these really simple but really tasty choices in this game, and that makes this game pretty good, right? So the third thing that we really enjoy about this is that there is no complex end of game scoring. I mean, you look at Mr. Smeal's other game like Dimaka, the scoring mechanism in that game, obviously it's a bit more grandiose, isn't it? But there's all these weird ways of scoring. But at the end of this one, all you do is you count up the amount of different nobles that you've got, and then you trade in your cash for victory points, and that's it. And basically it's all staring you in the face. There's none of this sort of like a farmer type thing in Carcassonne where you're thinking, well, does this mean this, does this mean that? It's bang, it's there on the board, you know what you're getting, you know what everyone's got, and then that's it, the game's over. So yeah, that's really good. So what don't we like about St. Petersburg? So the first thing that we don't like about it is it takes eons to get this engine going. When we played this the other day, and it seemed like, well, I ain't got no money. That's what we kept on saying to ourselves. I ain't got no money, I can't do this, can't do that, I'm gonna have to pass, right? The fact that the cards are only available twice in the game, so the worker cards appear on the top row, they go to the bottom row, and then they're gone. So it's very difficult to get the cards you need as quickly enough in the beginning of the game, because you haven't really got any resources. You're trying to sort of, it's like you're trying to buy a 4-bedroom house whilst you're on benefits, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like, right? So it's very difficult to get that, and it's quite frustrating. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's quite frustrating in the beginning of the game to get where you want, because the game keeps moving, and you can't keep up. Yeah. So that's just one thing. So the second thing that is quite frustrating about this game is the fact that the duplicate nobles aren't worth anything. So in that sense, what's the point in having them? So you draw 8 cards here, draw 8 nobles, and then you get 4 of the same one. You've already got one in your tableau, you've already played one. So that's 4 cards that are taking up slots that you ain't even going to consider, right? So it seems a little bit weird that duplicate nobles aren't worth anything. I can understand the fact that they're not worth as much, right? But it would make more sense to me as if duplicate nobles were worth like half a point or something like that. I don't know. But it just seems like there's a lot of wastage on the board when you're talking about duplicate nobles. So the third thing that we find frustrating is the 2-player game is kind of, it seems a little bit lackluster, and I know that certain people who like this game have said that it's best at 2 players. I'm not convinced about that, because it seems to me that, like we said in the previous point, that with a 2-player game you still draw 8 cards onto the board, so there's a lot of wastage going on, because you can't really do everything you want to do. You can't really get all the cards you want. It seems like these cards are going through this, they're slipping away from you. It's like people are throwing cards into a river, and you're like, I need that card, and it's floating down the river away from you, and all these cards are being wasted because you can only afford 1, maybe 2. So it's like it's quite frustrating at 2 players. So I'm not saying it's a bad game at 2 players, but I think it's probably better at maybe 3, maybe 4 players, maybe, because there's more competition for cards. A lot of the cards aren't getting just discarded because you can't afford them. So to summarise, is St. Petersburg worth playing today and in the future? So we're going to say maybe it's all right. It all depends what sort of games you like, doesn't it? I mean, it's a solid sort of card drafting, engine building Euro. It's very, very solid. We enjoyed it. It's a good game. It's nice and colourful. The second edition adds that marketplace element, which we're not talking about here because we're talking about the original type of game. But it's there if you want to play it. Thinking about games, it's like to us it felt like a cross. I mean, this might sound a bit weird to you, but it's the truth, right? It seems like a cross between Century Spice Road and Marvel Legendary, the deck building game, because you've got the worker cards that give you cash, right, and then you've got other cards that give you victory points, and you also, if you look at the board, the way the board works and the way Century Spice Road works, you're putting cards out onto this line, taking them off the board, and then they move, don't they? So it seems like it's a sort of a mix of that. I know it sounds a bit weird, but essentially there's a bit of deck building involved as well, isn't there? Because you're not building up your deck, you're just building up this tableau, but it may as well be a deck, right? So that's the sort of games it's sort of similar. So if you like Century Spice Road, and if you like sort of very like deck building games like Marvel Legendary, this might be up your street. I think it's out of print, which leads me to another criticism, which it's not really a criticism, it's just that the English rules, because I think this is only available in German at the moment, and the English rules aren't available on the aren't available on the publisher's website. So we had to download the old edition rules and try and make sense of that in the new edition. So just be aware of that if you do pick this up in German. I think you can get it on Amazon.de. So just be aware that the English rules for the second edition are currently unavailable anywhere, so we couldn't find them anywhere. Yeah, I'm going to give this one maybe 3 stars, which means it's a good game, but there are better games out there if you look for them, like the ones we mentioned. And yeah, so it's an okay game. It's all right. It's a good solid Euro that takes about 60 minutes to play. So like we said, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment about St. Petersburg and whatever you want to talk about in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.